Welcome back, everyone, to what might be the most critical, consequential, and explosive deep dive we have ever undertaken on this channel. Today, we are not just talking about a game, a single tournament, or a passing rumor. We are dissecting a tectonic shift occurring at the very heart of Philippine basketball. We are examining a philosophical collision that is shaking the foundations of Gilas Pilipinas, reverberating from the training facilities in Manila, echoing through the packed arenas of the Japan B.League, and reaching all the way into the theoretical projections of international scouts. The headline that has set the internet absolutely ablaze, dominating sports pages, flooding social media timelines, and sparking intense, impassioned debates at every street corner basketball court across the archipelago is this: Coach Tim Cone, the legendary, multi-titled architect of Philippine basketball supremacy, has seemingly drawn a definitive line in the sand regarding the nation's most prized and scrutinized basketball prodigy, the 7'3" phenom, Kai Sotto. The phrases that have leaked out, the sound bites that have been amplified by a ravenous basketball public, are as sharp as they are uncompromising. We are hearing the term, hard-headed. We are hearing a resolute declaration that one player will not slow the movement. And perhaps most cryptically and intensely, we are hearing the ominous phrase, the glass is going down. To understand the magnitude of these statements, you have to understand the unprecedented weight of the context. In the Philippines, basketball is not a pastime, it is a religion. It is a shared national language, a unifying force for over 110 million people who look to the national team, Gilas Pilipinas, as a vessel for their collective pride, resilience, and hope on the global stage. For years, decades even, the narrative of Philippine basketball has been defined by a desperate search for size, a quest to find a homegrown giant who could look the powerhouses of Europe, the Americas, and Oceania straight in the eye without flinching. And then came Kai Sotto. He was the answer to a million whispered prayers. The unicorn. The beacon of the future. From his early days dominating the high school ranks at 8 Neo, to his unprecedented leap to the United States to train with the G-League Ignite, to his professional stints with the Adelaide 36ers in Australia's NBL, and his current journey navigating the rigorous, highly competitive landscape of the Japan B.League with teams like Yokohama, Hiroshima, and the Kashigaya Alphas. Every step, every rebound, every missed shot, and every minor injury has been microscopically analyzed by a nation holding its breath, desperately hoping to see a full-blooded Filipino shatter the glass ceiling and set foot on an NBA hardwood. But parallel to the rise of Kai Sotto is the enduring, undisputed reign of Earl Timothy Cone. Coach Tim Cone is not just a coach, he is an institution. With a record-breaking 20-plus PBA championships, multiple Grand Slams, and a coaching tree that spans generations, Cone is the master tactician. He is a disciple of the triangle offense, a believer in the supreme authority of the system, ball movement, and collective sacrifice. He is a man who has taken the helm of Gilas Pilipinas with a mandate to bring order, discipline, and a winning culture to a program that has often relied on pure, unbridled emotion and isolation heroics. Coach Cone does not bend his system to fit a superstar. He demands that the superstar elevate their basketball IQ to master the system. So, when reports and impassioned discussions surface featuring words like hard-headed in relation to Kai Sotto and Tim Cone's system, we are witnessing the irresistible force meeting the immovable object. We are seeing the collision of the modern, globally trained, highly individualized young star against the old-school, system-first, unforgivingly demanding maestro. What does it mean to be labeled hard-headed in the context of a Tim Cone offense? Is it a question of ego, a clash of generations, or simply the agonizing growing pains of a young center trying to unlearn habits and adapt to a complex read-and-react philosophy? When Coach Cone asserts that the movement will not be slowed, he is talking about the very lifeblood of his basketball ideology. The ball must pop. The players must cut. The weak side must always be active. If one player holds the ball a second too long, if one player demands the offense run exclusively through their post-ups without reading the defense, the movement dies. The system collapses. And Tim Cone, tasked with facing juggernauts like New Zealand and Australia, cannot afford a collapsed system. And what of the phrase, the glass is going down? Is it a literal reference to crashing the boards, a demand for dominance in the rebounding department where Kai Sotto, with his massive 7'3" frame, is expected to rule absolutely? Or is it a far more profound, metaphorical warning? Is the hourglass running out on potential? Is the window of opportunity closing? Or does it mean that the protective glass surrounding the golden child of Philippine basketball is finally being shattered by the harsh, demanding reality of elite, international men's basketball? Today, we are going to unpack every single layer of this explosive dynamic. We will trace the historical roots of Coach Tim Cohn's philosophy, exploring why his teams win and why his demands are so absolute. We will track Kai Sotto's incredible, pressure-filled journey, analyzing how his development abroad has shaped his current playing style and his mindset. We will break down the tactical X's and O's of how a modern 7-footer fits, or struggles to fit, into a continuous motion offense. We will examine the psychological warfare, the tough love, and the media strategies employed by elite coaches to extract greatness from their players. We will look at the immediate implications for Gilas Pilipinas as they prepare their 30-man pool for the upcoming FIBA World Cup qualifiers and the Asian Games, facing the daunting prospect of playing massive games with or without their franchise center. This is not a story about a feud. It is a story about the painful, necessary evolution of a national program. It is about what happens when potential is forced into the crucible of expectation. So, settle in. Get comfortable. Because we are about to launch into the most exhaustive, comprehensive analysis of the Tim Cohn and Kai Sotto dynamic ever assembled. This is the deep dive. To truly comprehend the gravity of the current situation, we must first build the foundation by understanding the two titans at the center of this narrative. We have to start with the architect, Coach Tim Cohn. If you want to know why a coach would publicly challenge a nation's most beloved player, you must understand the bedrock upon which that coach has built his empire. Tim Cohn is not a coach who relies on a roll of the dice. He is not a coach who simply rolls the ball out to his most talented players and hopes their individual brilliance will carry the day. Cohn's entire career, spanning decades of unprecedented success in the Philippine Basketball Association, is built on the altar of the system. He is the foremost international proponent of the triangle offense, a system he learned, adapted, and perfected from the teachings of Tex Winter and Phil Jackson. But even as basketball has evolved away from the strict, traditional post-oriented triangle into more fluid motion offenses, Cohn's core philosophies have remained absolute. For Coach Cohn, the system is the star. The system is the great equalizer. In international play, the Philippines is frequently undersized, out-athleticized, and facing teams with deeper pools of top-tier talent. Cohn's answer to this has never been to play a faster, more chaotic game. His answer is execution. It is about precision, spacing, timing, and most importantly, movement. When you hear the quote, "will not slow the movement," you are hearing the fundamental commandment of Tim Cohn's basketball religion. In a Tim Cohn offense, the ball must find the open man. Every pass must have a purpose, and every cut must be sharp. It is a read-and-react offense that requires a high level of basketball intelligence. If a player catches the ball and holds it, allowing the defense to set, the advantage is lost. If a player catches the ball and immediately looks to isolate, ignoring the weak side action, the system breaks. This is what is meant by slowing the movement. It is a cardinal sin in Cohn's playbook. It implies a player who is thinking about their own shot before thinking about the flow of the offense. Now, let us bring Kai Sotto into this intricate machinery. Kai Sotto's basketball journey is unlike any other in Philippine history. From a very young age, he was identified as the chosen one. He was taller, longer, and possessed a softer touch than anyone his age. He was developed in an era that celebrates the unicorn, the big man who can handle the ball, shoot from the perimeter, and create his own shot. When Kai went to the United States to join the G-League Ignite, he was immersed in an environment focused heavily on individual development and showcasing talent for NBA scouts. This is a very different environment from a strictly regimented, system-first European or veteran international team. As Kai transitioned into the professional ranks in Australia and then Japan, he faced the brutal reality of playing against grown men, hardened veterans, and imports who did not care about his prospect status. He had to learn how to fight for position, how to set punishing screens, and how to survive in the physical trenches of the paint. However, the expectations placed upon him by fans, and perhaps even his own internalized expectations, often cast him in the role of a primary offensive hub. He has an undeniable skill set. He has a beautiful jump hook, he can hit the mid-range jumper, and he has excellent court vision for a man of his size. But here is where the friction occurs. Here is where the term hard-headed enters the lexicon. When a highly talented, globally experienced young player joins a national team run by a strict system coach, there is always a clash of paradigms. Kai Sotto has spent years being told he is the future, being encouraged to expand his game, to step out to the three-point line, to be a modern, playmaking big. Coach Tim Cone, on the other hand, looks at a 7'3" player and sees the ultimate weapon for creating gravity in the paint. In Cone's system, a big man of Sotto's stature is often required to do the grueling, unglamorous work first. Set the screen. Roll hard to the rim to collapse the defense. Establish deep post position not necessarily to score, but to force a double team that opens up the perimeter shooters like Justin Brownlee, Dwight Ramos, or Calvin Oftana. If Kai catches the ball in the high post, he is expected to immediately read the cutters. If he holds the ball, faces up, and tries to break down his defender off the dribble, something he is capable of doing, but something that takes time, he is, by definition, slowing the movement. When Coach Cone uses a term like hard-headed, it is rarely a petty insult. Cone is a master psychologist. He is known for using the media to send targeted messages to his players. Remember, Cone is a disciple of Phil Jackson, the ultimate Zen master, who famously used the press to goad Shaquille O'Neal or challenge Kobe Bryant. If Cone is calling Kai Sotto hard-headed, it is likely a calculated move. It is a public challenge. It is Cone saying, "You have the talent, you have the physical tools, but are you willing to surrender your ego to the system? Are you willing to stop playing your game and start playing our game?" This friction is exacerbated by the limited preparation time national teams have. Unlike a club team that practices together for months, Gilas Pilipinas often has only weeks, sometimes merely days, to assemble, build chemistry, and execute complex game plans. There is no time to slowly massage a player's ego or gradually integrate them into the system. The buy-in must be absolute and immediate. If a player, even one as vital as Kai Sotto, resists the system, the coach has to make a difficult decision. Do you compromise the integrity of the offense to accommodate the star, or do you bench the star to preserve the system? Coach Cone has made it abundantly clear throughout his career: the system wins. Let us delve deeper into the tactical reality of Gilas Pilipinas right now. We are looking at a landscape where Gilas is preparing for massive international windows. They are assembling a 30-man pool for the Asian Games. They are facing heavyweight opponents like New Zealand and Australia in the FIBA World Cup qualifiers. These are teams that play incredibly physical, fundamentally sound basketball. New Zealand, the Tall Blacks, are known for their relentless physicality, their hard screens, and their cohesive team defense. Australia, the Boomers, are a world-class powerhouse filled with NBA talent, incredible size, and surgical precision on offense. Against teams of this caliber, Gilas Pilipinas cannot afford a stagnant offense. They cannot afford to dump the ball into the post and stand around watching. The movement has to be continuous. The defense of Australia or New Zealand will eat an isolation play alive. They will double-team the post, trap the pick-and-roll, and rotate with flawless timing. The only way Gilas can compete, the only way they can find open shots, is through relentless ball movement, confusing the defense with multiple actions, and making split-second reads. This brings us to the most fascinating and cryptic part of the quote: "The glass is going down." What exactly does this mean in the context of basketball, Tim Cone, and Kai Sotto? There are several interpretations we need to explore thoroughly. The first, and perhaps most literal, interpretation revolves around rebounding. The glass is universal basketball terminology for the backboard, and by extension, the act of rebounding. For all of Kai Sotto's offensive skills, his soft touch, and his passing ability, the one area where Gilas desperately, fundamentally needs him to dominate is on the boards. Rebounding is not just about height. It is about positioning, anticipation, physicality, and relentless effort. Sometimes, young players who are focused on their offensive game or blocking shots can lose sight of the unglamorous warfare required to secure defensive rebounds and generate second chance points on the offensive end. If Coach Cone says, "The glass is going down," he could be demanding that Sotto assert absolute authority over the rebounding battle. He is telling him that his primary value to the team, before any points are scored, is to ensure that the opposition gets only one shot, and that Gilas gets multiple. He might be pointing out a flaw in Sotto's tendency to leak out early in transition or avoid the heavy contact under the rim. "The glass is going down" could be a tactical directive: secure the paint, own the boards, and let the rest of the game flow from that foundation of dominance. The second interpretation is metaphorical and carries far more emotional weight. The glass could represent the glass ceiling that Philippine basketball has been trying to break through for decades. For years, we have been told that we are too small, that we cannot compete with the giants of the world. Kai Sotto was supposed to be the hammer that shattered that glass ceiling. But potential only takes you so far. At some point, potential must translate into undeniable, consistent production. If Cone says, the glass is going down, it could be a warning that the era of treating Kai Sotto purely as a developing prospect is over. The grace period has expired. The time for learning, making mistakes, and being coddled by the program is done. Gilas is now in a position where they expect to win, where they demand excellence. The protective glass surrounding the golden boy is coming down, exposing him to the harsh, demanding elements of elite competition. Cone is saying, we no longer need you to be a prospect, we need you to be a professional. We need you to deliver right now, within the confines of what it takes to win at the highest level. A third interpretation relates to the concept of an hourglass. The glass is going down could mean that time is running out. This might sound dramatic for a player who is still remarkably young, but in the context of sports windows, time moves incredibly fast. The FIBA cycles, the Olympic qualifications, the Asian Games, these tournaments come and go. A player's athletic prime is a finite resource. Cone might be injecting a sense of desperate urgency into Sotto. He might be telling him that the opportunities to make history, to lead this specific iteration of Gilas Pilipinas with veterans like Justin Brownlee alongside him, will not last forever. The sand in the hourglass is slipping away, and Sotto cannot afford to waste time being hard-headed or resisting the very system designed to elevate the team. Let us combine these elements and look at the broader picture. Coach Tim Cone has gone on record, as we have seen in recent reports, stating that having Kai Sotto is a luxury. Think about that word. A luxury. For years, Sotto was viewed as an absolute necessity, the savior of the program. By shifting the narrative and calling him a luxury, Cone is doing something incredibly calculated. He is stripping away the pressure on the rest of the team, and simultaneously challenging Sotto's sense of entitlement. Cone has stated point-blank that Gilas is ready to play and win without Sotto if necessary. This is a massive paradigm shift. It is a declaration of independence for the national team. Cone is building a culture where the jersey on the front is exponentially more important than the name on the back. He is assembling a deep pool of players, names like A.J. Edu, who has shown incredible defensive tenacity, Mike Phillips with his boundless energy, June Mar Fajardo, the immovable force, and naturalized options like Ange Kwame or Benny Boatwright. Cone is creating redundancies. He is building a fortress that can withstand the absence of any single player, even the unicorn. By saying they can win without him, Cone is putting the ball entirely in Kai Sotto's court. He is saying, we want you. We are better with you. Your ceiling makes us a threat on the global stage. But we do not need you if you are going to operate outside the system. If you want to be part of this movement, you have to conform to the movement. This dynamic is not unique to Tim Cone and Kai Sotto. We have seen this play out in basketball history time and time again. Think of Greg Popovich in San Antonio. Popovich built a dynasty not by catering to superstars, but by forcing superstars to submit to the Spurs system. Tim Duncan, Manu Ginobili, Tony Parker, Hall of Fame talents who subjugated their individual numbers for the beautiful game, the relentless ball movement. When a young, talented player arrived in San Antonio and tried to play hero ball, they were quickly benched or shipped out. Tim Cone is attempting to instill a similar culture in Gilas Pilipinas. He understands that the Filipino style of play is historically rooted in flair, individual creativity, and the puso or heart that drives isolation basketball in clutch moments. But Cone knows that at the FIBA World Cup level, heart is not enough. Puso must be paired with clinical, ruthless execution. When Sotto returns to the Gilas camp, whether he is coming off a stint in the B.League or recovering from a minor injury, he enters an environment that demands absolute focus. The practices under Tim Cone are legendary for their intensity, their attention to microscopic details. The angle of a screen, the timing of a cut, the exact positioning of the feet on defense, these are not suggestions, they are mandates. A player who is hard-headed is a player who nods during the timeout but reverts to their old habits when they step on the floor. It is a player who catches the ball on the block, sees the double team coming, but decides they can shoot over it anyway instead of kicking the ball out to the open shooter. Slowing the movement is not just a physical act, it is a mental block. It is a failure to process the game at the speed required. For Kai Sotto, the challenge is immense. He has the physical tools to dominate. He has shown flashes of absolute brilliance against international competition. We have seen him drop double-doubles against Asian opponents, displaying footwork and touch that left defenders helpless. Coach Kohn himself has said that Sotto has the potential to absolutely dominate Asia. But potential is a double-edged sword. It is a promise of what could be, but it is also a shadow over what currently is. Kohn is not interested in what Sotto could be in 5 years. He is interested in what Sotto is willing to do tomorrow against New Zealand. He needs a center who will sprint rim to rim in transition, demanding the defense collapse. He needs a center who will act as a massive, immovable wall on dribble handoffs. He needs a center who, when he catches the ball at the top of the key, instantly becomes a high-level facilitator, reading the backdoors and the flare screens. If Kai Sotto embraces this role, if he sheds the label of being hard-headed and fully commits to the movement, the results could be terrifying for the rest of the world. Imagine a 7'3" player with Sotto's vision operating at the hub of a Tim Kohn offense. Imagine the gravity he commands in the paint, opening up vast oceans of space for the shooters. Imagine him embracing the physicality, treating every defensive rebound as a personal insult to his territory. That is the version of Kai Sotto that Tim Kohn is trying to sculpt. But sculpting requires friction. It requires chipping away at the rough edges. The comments in the media, the tough love, the implicit threats of moving forward without him, these are the chisels Kohn is using. It is a dangerous game. Some players respond to this kind of public challenge by buckling down, internalizing the critique, and coming back stronger, desperate to prove the coach wrong by playing perfectly within the system. Other players, however, retreat. They feel alienated, misunderstood, and their confidence shatters. This is the tightrope Tim Kohn is walking. He is managing not just a basketball team, but a national obsession. He knows that every time he speaks about Kai Sotto, the words are analyzed by millions. By taking a hardline stance, Kohn is shielding the rest of the team from criticism. If Gilas struggles, the narrative becomes about the system versus the star, rather than a lack of effort from the supporting cast. We must also consider Sotto's perspective. It is easy for us, watching from the outside, to demand that a 20-something-year-old player instantly master a complex system and completely alter his playing style. But Sotto is dealing with immense pressures of his own. He is navigating a professional career in a foreign country. In the B.League, he is an import. He is expected to produce numbers. His livelihood, his future contracts, and his lingering hopes of catching the eye of an NBA scout depend on his individual statistical output. He is caught in a brutal tug-of-war. His professional club demands he be a focal point, a scorer, a rim protector who produces tangible stats. His national team coach demands he be a cog in a machine, a facilitator, a screener who may only take 5 shots a game if the system dictates it. Reconciling these two realities requires extraordinary maturity and basketball intelligence. When Sotto shifts from club play to national duty, he has to completely reboot his mental hard drive. He has to turn down the dial on his individual aggression and turn up the dial on his spatial awareness and willingness to sacrifice. If he fails to make that transition quickly enough, he appears hard-headed. He appears to be slowing the movement. And this brings us back to, the glass is going down. The urgency is real. The Philippine basketball program is entering a golden window. They have a brilliant, tactically supreme coach in Tim Kohn. They have a naturalized player in Justin Brownlee who fits the culture and the system perfectly, a player who embodies the selfless, winning mentality Kohn demands. They have a crop of young, athletic, hungry players who are willing to run through brick walls for the flag. And they have Kai Sotto, the ultimate wild card, the piece of the puzzle that could either complete the masterpiece or shatter the frame. The upcoming qualifiers against New Zealand and Australia are not just games, they are a crucible. They will expose every flaw, every hesitation, and every selfish impulse. If Sotto plays, he will be tested by big men who are stronger, meaner, and more experienced. He will not be able to rely on sheer size. He will have to rely on the system. He will have to trust that if he sets the hard screen, the ball will find its way back to him in a better position. He will have to trust the movement. If Gilas is forced to play without him, it will be a monumental test of Kohn's philosophy. It will be the ultimate validation of the system over the individual. If Gilas can stand toe-to-toe with the Boomers or the Tall Blacks without their franchise center, relying purely on execution, defensive tenacity, and the continuous flow of the offense, It will cement Tim Cohn's legacy and send an undeniable message to every player in the country. No one is bigger than the program. But the ideal scenario, the dream that every Filipino basketball fan holds onto, is the synthesis of these two forces. It is the moment when the hard-headedness gives way to understanding. It is the moment when Kai Sotto realizes that he does not need to carry the weight of the nation on his shoulders by scoring 30 points a game. He realizes that by embracing the movement, by becoming the ultimate, unselfish hub of the offense, he becomes infinitely more dangerous. He becomes the player Tim Cohn knows he can be. This deep dive is not just an analysis of a few quotes. It is an exploration of the painful, beautiful process of building a championship culture. It requires sacrifice, it requires bruised egos, and it requires hard truths spoken out loud. Tim Cohn is an architect who has built dynasties, and he knows that the strongest structures are forged in the hottest fires. By calling out his star player, by demanding that the movement must not be slowed, and by warning that the glass is going down, Cohn has ignited the furnace. The next few months will be critical. We will watch every Gilas practice footage that leaks out. We will scrutinize every possession in the B.League. We will analyze the body language, the defensive rotations, and the willingness to make the extra pass. We are witnessing a defining chapter in the history of Philippine basketball. The old guard of system and discipline is challenging the new generation of talent and potential. Will the glass shatter, revealing a broken promise? Or will the glass come down to clear the path for a unified, unstoppable force? Will the hard-headedness destroy the chemistry, or will it be molded into unyielding resolve? Will the movement be slowed, or will it accelerate into a beautiful, fluid symphony of basketball excellence? These are the questions that will define the legacy of Tim Cohn, the career of Kai Sotto, and the fate of Gilas Pilipinas on the world stage. We are not just waiting for the outcome of a game. We are waiting for the resolution of a philosophical war. And rest assured, as this saga unfolds, we will be here, breaking down every read, every rotation, and every word spoken, because this is the story that matters. This is the pulse of the nation. As we begin to wrap up this exhaustive look into the dynamic between Coach Tim Cohn and Kai Sotto, we must take a step back and view this situation not through the lens of controversy, but through the lens of evolution. What we are witnessing is the agonizing, necessary friction that always accompanies the pursuit of true greatness. It is easy to build a good basketball team. You just gather talent and let them play. But to build a great team, to build a program capable of standing against the titans of the international game, requires a fundamental rewiring of basketball DNA. Coach Tim Cohn is not the villain in this story, nor is Kai Sotto. They are two vital components of a national dream, currently speaking different basketball dialects, trying desperately to find a common language. Cohn's harsh words, the accusations of being hard-headed, the uncompromising demand to maintain the movement, the stark warning that the glass is going down, are not born of malice. They are born of a desperate, passionate desire to see his team, his country, succeed at the highest possible level. He is applying pressure because he knows that diamonds are not formed in comfort. For Kai Sotto, the path forward is clear, though incredibly steep. He is carrying the expectations of over 100 million people on his young shoulders, while simultaneously trying to forge his own professional destiny in foreign lands. The challenge laid before him by Coach Cohn is the ultimate test of his maturity. Can he sublimate his individual desires for the greater good of the system? Can he transform from a featured attraction into the foundational pillar of a collective movement? If he can make that mental leap, if he can truly understand that surrendering to the system is not a sign of weakness but the ultimate display of basketball intelligence, he will unlock a version of himself that is truly terrifying to opponents. Ultimately, the story of Philippine basketball has always been one of heart, of puso, of fighting against insurmountable odds. But heart alone is no longer enough. The modern international game demands execution, discipline, and a synchronized, continuous movement where the team breathes and reacts as a single organism. The glass is indeed going down. The window of opportunity is here, right now, with this coach, with this pool of players, and with this generational talent. Whether Gilas Pilipinas reaches the promised land, whether they conquer the Asian Games or make a deep run in the FIBA qualifiers, will depend entirely on how this conflict is resolved. It will depend on whether the hard-headedness can be softened into wisdom, whether the individual can become the ultimate servant of the movement. We will be watching every single step of this journey, analyzing every play, and bringing you the ultimate truth behind the headlines. Thank you for joining us on this incredible deep dive. Stay passionate, stay observant, and we will see you next time as the saga of Gilas Pilipinas continues to unfold.